Hello, and welcome back to Fluent English Journey. This is the channel where we talk about personal growth, clear communication, and real-life topics, all while improving your English. I'm really happy you're here today because we're going to talk about something almost everyone experiences, especially people who are trying to grow, move forward, and make the most of their time. But first, I want to ask you a question. It might feel a little uncomfortable and maybe a little familiar too. Are you truly being productive, or are you just staying busy? At first, these might sound like the same thing. After all, both involve doing things, checking tasks off your list, and making progress, right? But if we take a closer look, we'll see that they're actually very different. Think about a normal day in your life. You wake up, maybe check your phone, have breakfast, or skip it, and then start your work. Emails, meetings, errands, responsibilities. You're constantly moving. You respond to messages, meet deadlines, and try to keep everything under control. By the time the day ends, if it ends, you might feel exhausted. But here's the twist. Even after being so busy, you might still feel like you didn't really achieve anything meaningful. Does that ever happen to you? This is what I mean when I say, productivity without purpose is just busyness. It's like running on a treadmill. You're sweating, your heart is racing, but you're not actually getting anywhere. You're putting in effort, but there's no clear direction. Over time, this constant busyness can wear us down, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally too. Even the words we use reveal this mindset. We often say things like, "I'm swamped," or "I've got a million things to do." These phrases don't just sound dramatic. They show how we measure our worth by how much we do, rather than how meaningfully we do it. But what if there's another way? What if true productivity isn't about doing more, but about doing the right things? What if it's about quality, alignment, and purpose, not just action? In this episode, we're going to explore how to live and work with intention. We'll see the difference between being active and being purposeful. We'll talk about purpose, not in a big, overwhelming way, but in small, practical ways that anyone can apply. Whether you're studying, building a career, raising a family, or going through a big life change, this question matters. What are you doing all this for? And who are you becoming in the process? Before we start, I invite you to pause for a moment and ask yourself, am I creating a life I truly believe in, or am I just keeping myself busy? And don't worry, this isn't about guilt. It's about awareness. It's about taking one small step closer to living a life with clarity, not clutter. Over the next few segments, we'll explore why we get caught up in busyness, what we might be missing, and how to shift our focus towards something deeper, sustainable, and meaningful. The myth of constant motion. Today, we live in a world where slowing down almost feels wrong. If someone says, "I had a quiet day," people often react with surprise or even judgment. It's as if they're not doing enough, or worse, falling behind. Somehow, we've started to believe that being constantly busy equals success. The more packed your schedule, the more valuable your time must be. If you're not overwhelmed, maybe you're not working hard enough. But let's look closer. Many of us live in a culture of urgency. Everything feels like it must be done right now, and doing more is often seen as better. We chase deadlines, recognition, and that small satisfaction of crossing something off the list. But have you ever finished a full day and still felt like you didn't really accomplish anything important? This is the myth of constant motion, the idea that just because we're moving, we must be making progress. But motion alone doesn't guarantee meaning or growth. Think about it like a car stuck in the mud. The wheels spin, the engine works hard, but the car isn't moving anywhere. That's the meaning behind the phrase, spinning your wheels. Many people live like this every day. They are busy, exhausted, and overbooked, but they feel stuck. And that motion? It's not energizing, it's draining. People run on empty, another phrase we use for when someone is completely worn out, yet still pushing forward. You wake up tired, grab coffee, go to meetings, answer emails while eating lunch, multitask all afternoon, scroll through social media at dinner, and then crash into bed, only to do it all again tomorrow. Sometimes, you might even feel guilty when you're not doing something productive. That quiet voice whispers, shouldn't you be doing more? Where does that voice come from? A lot of it is psychological. We've been trained, often without realizing it, to link our worth to our output. The more we achieve, the more we feel we matter. But this creates a dangerous cycle. We burn the candle at both ends, using our energy from morning to night without resting, reflecting, or restoring. When this happens day after day, burnout isn't a possibility, it's inevitable. There's also a cultural factor. In many societies, being busy is a status symbol. People wear it like a badge of honor. Conversations often start with, "How have you been?" followed by, "Oh, so busy." Busy becomes proof of importance. But here's the truth. Being busy is not the same as being fulfilled. Being active is not the same as being aligned. Constant motion leaves no room for intentionality. When your schedule is full of back-to-back tasks, it's hard to ask the deeper questions. Why am I doing this? What is this work really leading to? Does this task or goal still make sense for the life I want? Often, we don't ask because we're afraid of the answers. What if we realize we're working hard for something we no longer even believe in? That's the real trap. Motion without direction doesn't just tire you, it blinds you. It's easy to get so caught up in the next task, the next appointment, the next achievement, that we forget to step back and look at the bigger picture. Over time, this can create a kind of emotional disconnection. You might be doing well by outside standards. You meet expectations, hit deadlines, stay on top of responsibilities. But inside, you might feel a little empty, like something important is missing. And often, what's missing is purpose. Now, this doesn't mean that being active, ambitious, or working hard is bad. Not at all. Productivity can be wonderful, especially when it's connected to meaning. When your actions are guided by values, not just momentum, you can feel energized instead of drained. But if we never pause to check the map, to ask ourselves where we're going and why, we risk living life on autopilot. We keep racing forward without ever really arriving anywhere. So maybe the better question isn't, how busy am I? But, is my busyness helping me move closer to what really matters, or is it just keeping me distracted? It's not an easy question. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. But even quietly asking it in your mind can start to change things. It can open the door to a different kind of productivity, one rooted in clarity instead of chaos. Defining purpose. What are we aiming for? So far, we've talked about the dangers of constant motion and mistaking busyness for progress. But now comes a bigger question. If busyness isn't the goal, then what is? What are we actually aiming for? This brings us to a word that can feel inspiring and intimidating at the same time: purpose. Purpose is a word we hear a lot. It's in self-help books, motivational speeches, corporate mission statements. It's become a buzzword. But even though it's popular, it can still feel hard to define. What does it really mean to live with purpose? Do you need to quit your job and follow a dream? Change the world? Start a movement? Write a best-selling book? Not necessarily. One common misunderstanding is that purpose has to be something big, bold, or impressive, something other people notice. But the truth is, purpose is often quiet and personal. It's inward-facing. At its core, purpose is about alignment, the connection between what you do and what you value. It's not just about what you're doing, it's about why you're doing it. Purpose acts like a compass. It gives you direction, not just momentum. When you're aligned with purpose, even small, everyday actions can feel meaningful. Washing the dishes, writing an email, studying a language, these can all matter if they connect to something deeper. But without alignment, even your biggest achievements can feel empty. Finding your own purpose. So, how do we discover our own purpose? Not the one society hands us, not what others expect, but the one that feels true to us as individuals. For some, purpose comes from helping others or contributing to the community. For others, it's about raising a family, creating something beautiful, solving problems, or learning and growing. There's no single answer. The real question is, does it feel meaningful to you? And here's something important. Your purpose doesn't have to be permanent. It can and should evolve. We're not static beings. Our priorities and circumstances change, and so do our values. What mattered to you 5 years ago may not matter today. And that's okay. Purpose isn't a fixed destination. It's more like a guiding thread you follow. Many people live without ever asking what their thread is. They follow paths set by default, career paths, educational systems, cultural scripts. They pursue goals because it's expected, because it seems respectable, or because everyone else is doing it. And over time, even if you're successful on paper, you may start to feel disconnected. This is why it's important to ask, who is defining success for me? Whose voice am I listening to, my own or someone else's? This leads to internal motivation, the drive that comes from within, not from outside pressure. When you act from internal motivation, your energy feels different. You're not just checking boxes or proving a point. You're doing things because they matter to you. That quiet sense of, yes, this is right for me, is what purpose often feels like. Purpose isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's just a quiet sense of rightness. Of course, discovering your purpose isn't always easy, especially in a world full of distractions and comparisons. But that's why it's so necessary. If we don't define our own purpose, someone else will define it for us. And when that happens, we may work hard, achieve goals, even gain admiration, but still feel lost. Purpose doesn't guarantee happiness every day, but it gives direction. It helps us face difficulties with resilience, make better decisions, and feel more connected to the life we're building. For English learners, this is especially powerful. Learning a language at an advanced level isn't just about grammar or vocabulary. It's about voice your voice. The ability to express what matters to you with confidence and clarity. That's purpose, too. Here's a gentle question for you. When was the last time you asked yourself what truly matters to you? Not to your boss, not your parents, not your friends, but to you. Not what you think should matter, but what actually does, what excites you, brings you peace, and makes you feel like yourself. If you haven't asked that in a while or ever, that's okay. There's no deadline, no pressure. Just an invitation. The more honest we are about what we value, the more intentional we can be in how we live, how we work, and even how we learn. Next, we'll explore what happens when we chase productivity without alignment, the productivity trap. We'll see how even our best efforts can backfire when we're not connected to our why, and why it's so important to focus on purpose first. Sometimes people look successful from the outside, but inside, they feel completely lost. Maybe you know someone like that, or maybe at some point you felt that way yourself. From the outside, everything seems perfect. They've achieved important milestones. Maybe they earned a degree from a top university, landed a high-paying job, or built an impressive resume. Others look at them and think, wow, they've got it all together. But beneath the surface, something is missing. There's a quiet sense of disconnection, a feeling of emptiness. They have achieved a lot, yet deep down, they ask themselves, why doesn't this feel fulfilling? This is what I call the productivity trap. It happens when achievement becomes separated from meaning. You might be doing everything right according to society's standards, but inside, something feels off. You're productive, efficient, performing well, but something essential is missing. The root of this often lies in misaligned success. Your external accomplishments, titles, numbers, results, don't reflect your inner values. In other words, you might be climbing the ladder, but it's leaning against the wrong wall. And the higher you climb, the more disconnected you feel. Misalignment usually doesn't happen overnight. It sneaks in slowly as we make small compromises. We say yes when we mean no, or we choose what looks good over what feels right. Think of a few examples. A university student who is always top of the class, winning awards and pleasing professors, but privately feels burned out, anxious, and unsure if they even care about the subject. A young professional at a prestigious firm, earning a good salary, climbing the corporate ladder, yet waking up each morning with a heavy sense of dread. These aren't lazy people. They're high achievers. But they're caught in a loop, chasing numbers, titles, and targets without asking, is this really what I want? In today's world, performance pressure is everywhere. Whether it's meeting sales quotas, growing a social media following, keeping up a high GPA, or just appearing successful, we're constantly told to do more, be more, and prove more. When we internalize these messages, they start to shape our self-worth. We work harder, get busier, and become reactive instead of intentional. There's no time to reflect, no space to check in with ourselves. We're just surviving. One of the emotional consequences of this is burnout. Not just physical tiredness, but deep emotional fatigue. Burnout doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's numbness, a loss of joy, or a quiet voice asking, "What's the point?" Often, people don't even realize they're burned out. From the outside, they appear fine, they show up, deliver results, smile on cue, but inside, they're running on empty. The danger of this trap is how easy it is to rationalize. We tell ourselves, I'm just going through a rough patch. I need to push harder. Once I reach the next milestone, promotion, or project, I'll finally feel satisfied. But here's the truth. If your sense of purpose isn't part of the journey, it usually won't magically appear at the destination. The fulfillment we chase doesn't come from numbers alone, it comes from meaning, and meaning comes from alignment. Knowing that what you're doing is connected to who you are and what you care about. This doesn't mean we should abandon goals or stop trying. Growth and achievement are important, but they only feel truly meaningful when rooted in personal values, in something that matters to you. Language can help us see this more clearly. Think about how we talk about success, climbing the ladder, reaching the top, making it big. These are all images of height and scale. But what if we focused instead on depth, on how deeply connected we feel to what we're doing, not just how high we climb? Take a moment to reflect. Are your goals your own or someone else's? Are you building a life that reflects your values, or just a resume that shows your effort? There's no judgment here. Everyone gets caught in this trap at times. What matters is awareness, noticing the misalignment and asking better questions. The good news is that once we notice it, change becomes possible. We can begin to shift gently, intentionally, toward a type of productivity that feels meaningful. One where we're not just chasing outcomes, but also cultivating connection. One where the path matters as much as the prize. Listening to your inner compass. In our fast-paced world, filled with notifications, meetings, and endless to-do lists, it's easy to lose touch with something fundamental, our inner compass. That quiet guiding voice inside us, often drowned out by the noise of everyday life. Learning to listen to that voice is a crucial step. It allows us to choose productivity that's connected to purpose instead of just being busy for the sake of it. So, what does it mean to listen to your inner compass? At its simplest, it means becoming more self-aware. Tuning into your thoughts, feelings, and values instead of just reacting to external demands. It sounds simple in theory, but in practice, it requires slowing down. We need space to reflect and examine our inner world. That can feel uncomfortable, especially if you're used to moving quickly from one task to the next. One powerful tool for this is journaling. Writing your thoughts down can feel like opening a window into your mind. You notice patterns, repeated worries, hidden hopes, recurring doubts. When you put pen to paper, you create a dialogue with yourself. You give your inner voice space to speak, without judgment. It slows the mental chatter and helps you listen clearly to what's really happening inside. But journaling isn't the only way to reconnect with your inner compass. Some people find that quiet moments of stillness work even better. Moments when they can simply sit, breathe deeply, and observe what's happening inside their minds. This is the essence of mindfulness, paying attention on purpose to the present moment, without trying to change anything. Mindfulness isn't about emptying your mind. It's about becoming an observer of your thoughts and feelings, noticing them as they arise without judgment. Mindfulness creates a bridge between your busy, active outer life and your calm, reflective inner self. And why is this so important? Because without awareness, our thinking patterns can run on autopilot. We may believe things about ourselves that aren't true, ideas that limit our growth. Psychologists call these limiting beliefs. Examples include thoughts like, "I'm not good enough. I have to work harder to prove my worth. I don't deserve to rest." These beliefs can trap us in cycles of unproductive behavior, even if they don't help us reach our goals or support our well-being. By practicing awareness, through journaling, mindfulness, or simple reflection, we begin to see these internal narratives clearly. We can start to notice which thoughts are true, which are exaggerated, and which are completely false. And that is incredibly freeing. When you notice these beliefs, you gain the power to challenge them. You can replace limiting thoughts with more empowering ones. For example, shifting from "I must always be busy to matter" to "my value is not defined by productivity" can transform how you see yourself and your life. This process also helps you reconnect with your values, the deep principles that guide your choices and give your life meaning. When you act in alignment with these values, even difficult tasks can feel worthwhile because they are connected to something bigger than immediate results or external approval. Now here's an important question to reflect on. When was the last time you truly listened to your inner voice? Not your notifications, not the pings and buzzes that pull your attention outward, but that quiet voice inside that knows what you need, how you feel, and what matters most. It's a simple question, but it can be surprisingly hard to answer. For many, The last time they checked in with that voice might have been months or even years ago. Maybe it was before life got so busy, before deadlines and responsibilities took over. The good news? It's never too late to start. Every moment you pause to check in with yourself, you're building a habit of intentionality. You're creating space to act from clarity rather than compulsion, from purpose rather than autopilot. And here's something important to remember. Listening to your inner compass doesn't mean ignoring responsibilities or giving up productivity. It doesn't mean stopping work or abandoning goals. Instead, it means bringing purpose and awareness into everything you do. It means making choices that reflect your values, not just responding to pressure. When you act this way, your work, your learning, and even your daily routines start to feel more meaningful. They become connected to who you are, not just what you're doing. Bringing awareness to your choices means making sure your actions come from meaning, not just momentum. It means pausing to ask yourself questions like, is this task aligned with my goals? Am I saying yes because I want to, or because I feel pressured? What would feel right in this moment? These questions don't always have easy answers. That's okay. The point is that asking them regularly trains your mind to notice what really matters and to act with intention. As you go through your day, whether studying, working, or managing everyday life, try to create small moments for this kind of inner listening. It could be 5 minutes in the morning with a journal, a quiet walk without your phone, or simply taking a few deep breaths before starting a new task. These small practices may seem simple, but they build resilience, sharpen focus, and deepen your connection to purpose over time. In the next part, we'll explore how to turn this inner awareness into concrete habits, how to structure your environment and routines so your productivity naturally supports your purpose, rather than pulling you away from it. Productivity with purpose, what it looks and feels like. Now, let's imagine what productivity with purpose actually looks and feels like. After all the reflection and awareness we've talked about, you might be thinking, okay, but what does this look like in real life? How do I go from just being busy to being productive in a way that truly matters? Here's the difference. Productivity with purpose is less about doing more and more about doing what matters. It's about learning to focus on what truly serves your goals and values. It's about cutting through the noise, all the tasks, distractions, and urgent requests that don't really contribute to your well-being or your bigger picture. Think of it like this. It's the difference between spinning your wheels in a crowded parking lot and driving steadily toward a clear destination. You might not be juggling 10 tasks at once, but the few tasks you are focusing on are meaningful, manageable, and aligned with your bigger picture. Let me give you an example. Imagine a professional named Maria. She used to say yes to every meeting and project. She was always busy, always exhausted, and felt like she had to prove herself. After some reflection and practicing listening to her inner voice, Maria started making different choices. She began saying no to meetings that didn't need her input and prioritized projects that connected with her values, maybe tasks that helped her team grow or made a real impact on clients. By cutting out unnecessary commitments, Maria wasn't just less busy. She became more productive. She worked smarter, not harder. And because she focused her energy on fewer, higher quality tasks, the results improved, both for her work and for her well-being. By focusing on fewer, meaningful tasks, Maria not only improved her work results, but she also regained her peace of mind. Another example is someone learning a new skill, like language learning, which many of you listening to this podcast might relate to. Instead of cramming hours of study every day, which often leads to burnout, they choose intentional practice. Maybe they spend focused time on topics that interest them personally, watching movies, reading articles, or practicing conversation about things they care about. In this way, learning becomes meaningful, not just another item on a long to-do list. It's about quality over quantity, purpose over pressure. Productivity with purpose also means making time for creativity and reflection. We often think of productivity as ticking boxes or meeting deadlines. But the most meaningful progress happens when we slow down enough to think deeply, explore new ideas, rest, and recharge. Giving ourselves permission to pause is not laziness, it's a crucial part of sustainable productivity. When we rest intentionally, we come back to our tasks with fresh energy and new perspectives. Here's an important point. When productivity is guided by purpose, it feels very different from busyness. Instead of stress and exhaustion, there's clarity and calm. Instead of rushing, there's focus. Instead of fragmentation, there's flow. It's like moving with the current of a river rather than struggling against it. The energy feels natural, resilient, and rewarding. This shift also changes the way we measure success. Instead of counting hours worked or tasks checked off, we measure by how aligned our actions are with our values and goals. It's about celebrating the quality of your work and the meaning behind it, not just the quantity. Of course, this transformation isn't always easy. It takes conscious choices every day, the courage to say no, the discipline to focus, the patience to allow gradual change. But it's a journey worth taking. When you start to see productivity as a form of intentional living, you gain more than efficiency, you gain a deeper connection to your life and work. So, the next time your to-do list feels overwhelming or the pace of modern life feels relentless, pause and ask yourself, am I focusing on what really matters? Am I cutting through the noise to make space for meaningful tasks? Am I working smarter, not harder? These questions help you reflect, pause, and realign your efforts. In the end, productivity with purpose isn't about perfection or doing everything. It's about being intentional, aligned, and connected to your inner compass. It's about making choices that honor your time, energy, and what matters most. By connecting your energy, time, and values to what really matters, the busyness of life can transform into meaningful, fulfilling action. In this next section, we'll explore how purposeful productivity can lead to transformation, not just in what you do, but in who you become. From busy to balanced, strategies for alignment. Now that we've talked about productivity with purpose, the question becomes, how do you actually make the shift from being caught in busyness to creating balance? Balance here means living in a way that reflects your values and your inner compass. This isn't a one-time fix. It's an ongoing process of alignment, adjustment, and self-compassion. And it requires practical strategies to help you stay connected to what matters, even when life feels hectic. One powerful starting point is regular reflection. This doesn't need to take long, just 5 or 10 minutes at the end of a day or week can make a huge difference. Ask yourself some honest questions. What did I do today that felt meaningful? Which tasks felt like busy work? Did I act out of habit instead of conscious choice? Writing your thoughts down or even just thinking them through can help you identify patterns in your behavior, both positive and negative. Reflection is like holding a mirror to your daily life. It helps you see what's working and what's pulling you off course. Another essential skill is resilience. Not just the ability to keep going, but the ability to pause, reflect, and adjust without beating yourself up. It's common to feel guilty when you realize you've slipped back into old habits or gotten swept away by busyness. But guilt isn't productive. Resilience invites you to treat yourself with kindness and see setbacks as opportunities to learn and grow. Think of it like steering a ship. Sometimes you drift off course, but you can always steer back, and each time you do, you get better at reading the map and the weather. Another practical strategy is to introduce weekly check-ins with yourself. This could be a Sunday evening ritual or a quiet moment on Friday afternoon. Use this time to review your upcoming week with intention. Look at your calendar and ask, which activities truly align with my priorities? Where can I say no or delegate? Where do I need to carve out time for rest or creative thinking? This kind of intentional review helps prevent saying yes to everything or falling into autopilot. It's about designing your week around your values, not just reacting to urgent demands. One of the most effective tools for alignment is time blocking, setting specific chunks of time for focused work, rest, or personal projects. But here's the key. Time blocking works best when it's not just about traditional productivity, but about what truly matters to you. For example, if creativity is important to you, block out time for brainstorming or experimenting, even if it doesn't produce immediate results. If connection with loved ones matters, schedule undistracted time with family or friends. When you organize your time this way, your daily routine starts to reflect your priorities, and productivity becomes an expression of your purpose. You might be thinking, isn't it hard to stick to these strategies when unexpected things come up? Absolutely. Life is unpredictable, and flexibility is part of balance. That's why learning to pause, even for a few deep breaths before reacting, can be a game changer. This small act creates space between stimulus and response, allowing you to choose your next action more intentionally. Like any skill, it improves with practice and helps you respond rather than react. Here's a question to reflect on. How much of your daily behavior is driven by conscious intention, and how much by habit? This isn't about judging yourself. It's about cultivating awareness. Habits can be helpful, but they can also lock us into patterns that no longer serve us. By noticing where habits take over, you create the possibility to gently intervene and choose differently. As you begin to integrate these strategies, you'll notice your sense of balance start to shift. This isn't about perfection or doing everything right. It's about ongoing alignment, listening to yourself, making intentional choices, being flexible enough to course correct when needed. This approach builds a sustainable form of productivity that supports not just your goals, but also your well-being. Moving from busyness to balance is a journey, not a destination. Each small step, whether it's a brief reflection, setting a clear boundary at work, or a mindful pause before making a decision, adds up over time, creating a profound transformation in how you relate to your work, your time, and yourself. Cultural dimensions of productivity and purpose. As we continue this journey, it's important to step back and widen our perspective. Our ideas about productivity, success, and purpose aren't formed in a vacuum. They are shaped by the culture we grow up in, the values passed down to us, and the expectations around us. These cultural influences affect not only how we work and live, but also how we define meaning and achievement. For example, in many Western cultures, productivity is often measured by output and efficiency. The phrase "time is money" is common, pushing people to maximize every minute, hit milestones, and prioritize individual success. Phrases like grind, hustle, or work smarter, not harder emphasize personal effort, ambition, and strategic thinking. Success might be measured by promotions, income, or tangible accomplishments. This perspective can be motivating, but it can also create a relentless pace where rest and reflection are undervalued. In contrast, many non-Western cultures approach productivity differently. For instance, some Asian philosophies, influenced by Confucianism or Taoism, emphasize balance, harmony, and community, alongside personal effort. Productivity might be seen as contributing to the group, maintaining social harmony, or living in alignment with natural rhythms. Rest, slowing down, and patience are often valued as part of a purposeful life. Similarly, indigenous perspectives from around the world frequently highlight connection to community, nature, and tradition as central to meaningful living. Productivity isn't just about individual achievement, it's about contributing to something larger than oneself. Many cultures also highlight a holistic relationship between work, nature, and spirituality. In these perspectives, productivity isn't just about achieving material goals. It's about caring for the land, honoring ancestors, and fostering connections with the community and environment. This broader understanding of purpose reminds us that our work can carry responsibility beyond personal gain. It can contribute to something larger than ourselves. Of course, these cultural frameworks aren't rigid or exclusive. In today's globalized world, most of us navigate multiple cultural influences at the same time. You might feel drawn to the Western drive for achievement while also valuing the relational focus of non-Western traditions. This blending of perspectives can create rich opportunities for reflection, growth, and intentional living. So, how can we use this awareness in our own lives? Start by asking questions like, how does my culture define productivity? What messages about success and purpose did I grow up with? Which of these ideas resonate with me, and which feel limiting or incomplete? This kind of inquiry helps you recognize which beliefs are truly yours and which you may have adopted unconsciously. It also opens the door to a more flexible understanding of productivity, one that honors your personal values and life context. For example, if you grew up in a culture that prizes constant busyness as a sign of worth, you might choose to challenge that narrative and prioritize balance instead. Or if your background emphasizes community and relationships, you might find ways to weave collaboration and connection into your work and goals. Reflecting on cultural dimensions like these can deepen your appreciation for diversity and resilience. It reminds us that productivity and purpose are not fixed ideas, they evolve over time, shaped by history, tradition, and personal experience. Understanding these influences allows us to craft a more authentic, meaningful approach to our own lives, drawing on the strengths of different traditions while honoring what feels true to us individually. Here's a reflective question for you. How does your culture define productivity? Where do you agree or disagree with that definition? There's no right or wrong answer, just an opportunity to explore and better understand yourself and the world around you. Closing reflection: embracing productivity with purpose. As we come to the end of this episode, let's take a moment to pause together, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. Today, we've explored why busyness without meaning can leave us drained, how productivity can be more fulfilling when aligned with purpose, strategies for listening to your inner compass and creating balance, the cultural influences that shape how we define success. Now, I invite you to simply be present with where you are right now. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to rush to the next task, goal, or distraction. But true productivity, the kind that leaves us fulfilled, isn't about perfection or constant striving. It's about presence, about showing up fully for ourselves and our intentions, even if imperfectly. Purpose doesn't demand that we have everything figured out or that we never stumble. Instead, it invites us to be curious, compassionate, and patient with ourselves as we navigate life's complexities. Think of purpose as a gentle compass guiding your daily steps. It might nudge you to say no to something draining or to take a few quiet minutes to reflect on what matters. Sometimes it whispers quietly, but that whisper can guide you more clearly than the loudest notifications or deadlines. Sometimes purpose speaks quietly during a mindful pause, and other times it appears suddenly as a clear insight. Whatever form it takes, purpose grows when we make space for it, space to listen, reflect, and act with intention. As you think about this, you might ask yourself, what is one small thing I could stop doing or start doing that brings me closer to my purpose? It doesn't have to be a big change. Maybe it's turning off your phone for an hour each day, focusing on a single task instead of multitasking endlessly, committing to a short weekly reflection, saying no more often to things that don't align with your values. These small actions may seem simple, but over time, they can create meaningful shifts in your life. Remember, moving from busyness to purpose isn't about doing more. It's often about letting go. Let go of habits, beliefs, or expectations that no longer serve you. Reclaim your time and attention for the things that truly nourish your mind and soul. I also want to thank you for spending this time with me on Fluent English Journey. By exploring these deeper questions in English, you're doing more than practicing language. You're engaging with complex ideas, learning new words, and reflecting deeply. That is a powerful act of growth. Learning a language isn't just about grammar or vocabulary. It's about expanding your perspective, connecting with yourself and others, and finding new ways to express your thoughts and emotions. So as you move forward, I encourage you to carry this practice of pausing and being present into your daily life. When the noise of busyness feels overwhelming, return to that inner space where purpose lives. Let it be a steady, quiet light that guides your choices and gives meaning to your actions. I look forward to continuing this journey with you in future episodes, exploring language, ideas, and the art of living thoughtfully. Until then, take care of yourself, listen deeply, and remember, purpose doesn't require perfection. It only asks for presence. Thank you for joining me today and investing your time in this journey of growth and reflection. Your presence truly makes this space meaningful. Until next time, take care and keep living with purpose.